ladies and gentlemen, my dear teachers, welcome back to another sensational episode of Bala and Bala. I have both the Balas with me here today, and the topic of discussion, parental role in shaping student behavior. I'm sure all you teachers out there are waiting for the discussion to start, because this is something that has been bothering you, or something you have been mulling over for a long, long time now. This is a question that comes up in every session that we take with all of you teachers. So let's discuss this topic here today. Sir, I would like to start with you. What do you think, or what influences the student behavior?
Well, the student behavior is influenced by several things. Number one, genetics. Second is environment. That's what the psychology says, two major factors that influence the genetics and the environment. But when you talk much more broadly, the domestic environment, the relationship environment, the natural environment, and the cultural environment, all these things impact the learner slowly and steadily. No wonder this happens right from the birth of the child. And that's the reason the National Education Policy has talked about 0 to 3 years,
right,
where they said preparation of the child to come to the school, preparing the learner to come to the school is important. Because they know pretty well the behavior of the learner in the school will depend upon how the child is prepared at home during these years over that. So, all that put together, what is needed is a positive environment. A positive environment where the child will grow. The child has to grow with self-confidence, optimism and hope, right? And anything that is done at home by parents should not defeat the child intellectually, emotionally, or in terms of the relationship, right? Why that is said? Because you know, when you talk about the neural learning processes, the brain development at the formative years is very, very challenging and high. Therefore, the brain networks are formed. They say normally up to 3 years, the quantum of networking is at most 3 times that of an adult, right? Therefore, there is an increasing curiosity on the part of the learner to access, to feel and to know, right? And you know, everything is, you know, a child sees something curious, the child touches it. So this kind of a learning behavior is shaped over that. And similarly, when the mother takes a child and looks at the child and smiles, the child responds. These develop mirror neurons in the brain, which relates to what you call social you know, behavior of the learner at the point of time. So a number of factors are there in development of the child right from the formative stage. But when they come to the second level, what we call the pre-adolescent level, right, the impact of the family, the impact of the teachers, and anyone who role models, is, you know, that influences them, that I want to be like this, I want to be like that. And as they come to the adult level, probably peer influence starts, that kind of influence, because somebody else is doing, I want to be a part of that. So in the entire growth process of, you know, from the birth to death, we all are influenced by one or the other, you know, social environments. Therefore, we are all learners till we breathe the last, and till for the whole process of the learning, we are influenced by both the gene as well as by the environment.
So true. Big Brain, moving to you. Parental contribution towards student behavior. Is it a duty, a choice, or a commitment?
All three. Absolutely all three. In fact, to step back for a moment, I would strongly urge schools and parents both to understand, and I'm making this statement very responsibly because so much gets written about and spoken about when it comes to punishments at school. There is a very big difference between punishment and disciplining. The school and the teacher has every right to discipline a child, and parents must understand that. It is for the benefit of the child. The same applies to the parent while at home. So in a non-schooling environment, it is like academic learning. There is formal learning and informal learning when it comes to behavior too. And the informal learning that you pick actually comes from how the parent treats that as acceptable behavior or unacceptable behavior. So the environment that you create and say, oh, this is okay, this is acceptable to me, this is fine, this is not wrong, will make the child believe it is right. There is a world of difference, in my opinion, between what is right and not wrong. And these are the things that people need to start looking at seriously, because these actually have far-reaching consequences. There's another aspect where I would want to highlight in terms of parents' responsibility. Consciously, I think parents need to indulge with their children to respect teachers. It is a concern for me as an educator when I go to a lot of schools. I see the respect that I gave my teachers not necessarily being proportionate to someone at that same age in this era. I do not mean the child is showing disrespect, but in my opinion, it is not conscious respect. These things need to change, and the parent plays a critical role in this aspect.
All right. Moving to you, sir. I'm continuing more or less on the same line. Is parental lack of time, is that a serious concern? And how do we ensure that it does not, how can a teacher ensure that it does not affect a child too much?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question, very contextual to the current society. There are two types of parents. One, they are so busy with their work, professional work and others, they don't have time. Two, they have time, but they think it's not important. Why should I give that time to them? They prefer to watch a TV movie, rather than talking to the children. This is a very, So either way, the child, when comes back from the school, longs for a relationship, an unconditional relationship where they can, open up, they can talk, they can communicate, they can let their emotions flow, and they can get a pat on the back, a word of appreciation to be ready for the next day. But when the parents start, controlling the child, please note that disciplining is different, controlling is different. Now the parents want, many of them, you sit here, don't move from here. You read this, 6 to 7 you will read, otherwise I won't give you the food. Right? So these kind of mental harassments create a distance between the learner and the child and the parent over that. So that's one dimension. The second dimension, what has happened is technology. That has also impacted, because the child feels that when you switch on a computer, the input goes and the output comes in nanoseconds. And therefore they are trained for the input output in nanoseconds. When they come to the parent, they think they provide an input to the parent and the parent will respond to them in nanoseconds. And that creates tension between this one. So parents need to do a lot of counseling. And all these can be challenged by being with the learner, talking to the child, and then trying to make them understand why things happen. Right? So this lack of communication, lack of talk between the people, is something very dangerous for the teacher. I mean, I just read a small WhatsApp anecdote. Probably many of them would have even heard. It is contextualized to US. A young boy of class 5 runs towards his father and asks him a very stupid question. Dad, how much you earn per hour? The father says, first worried, how is that the child is asking that? And then he says, I earn about $10 an hour. Dad, can you lend me $5? The father is annoyed. What's that? But anyhow, he dares to give $5 to the child. The child runs back to his bedroom. Under the pillow, he has a few coins. He puts all of them together, this $5 and the $5 over there. comes to his father and gives $10 and says, Dad, here are $10. Can you work an hour for me? And now the father asked, what do you want me to do? He said, I want you to sit on the dining table and spend an hour with me on dinner. And that's the reality of the situation, right? We, even while we are having food, we are on the mobile, we are contextualizing. Remember one thing, connecting with people is different from, giving companionship to the people, right? We need to give companionship to the children, grow along with them. I always say parents grow along with the children.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think that answers your question, that there is absolutely, no option but to give children. Every single minute you invest on your children. I use the word invest consciously because that's worth $1 million.
Absolutely. Big Brain, my next question is to you. Is student behavior an indicator of successful parenting? And is it always the case?
Yes, it is to some extent. Before I come to student behavior and success indicators, I want to touch on one small aspect which I experienced at my alma mater. My physics teacher went on to become the principal of the school, and he recognized this lack of time in parents and actually brought in a concept of grandparent-teacher meet. Not parent-teacher meeting, grandparent-teacher meeting. I think one of the problem areas in today's world, and I respect the fact that parents have their own economic pressures and the world is not an easy place. So you need both parents to be working and therefore time crunch happens. We've also let go of living with our grandparents. That bridge was a crucial bridge in our generation which played like a cushion factor to the lack of time of the parents. It's not that my father was not busy during his peak years of his profession, he was. But the time when he was not there, I had my grandfather and grandmother to talk to. So that balancing of the household has changed. So that's the first part. The second is in terms of their behavior linked to success. I think it is true. Parental or not, behavior of a child or behavior of a person is directly proportional to the success of a person. You can be an extraordinarily successful person with uncomfortable behavior. Over a period of time, people will avoid you. You may be a person who is not so successful, but with wonderful behavior, you are likely to be more successful. People work with people. And if it becomes difficult to work with people, people will stay away from those people. So the more and more you alienate yourself with your behavior, you will become an island. Yes, there are islands of success, but there are few islands. If you want to be in the mainland of success, I think behavior is extremely, extremely important, because at the end of the day, we've got only one planet where humans live. At least you got to live together to be successful.
So a follow-up question to you. Is a parent successful in parenting if their child has a good behavior or if the child is successful?
See, the very word successful is a problem area for me. Okay, I have a problem with the word success, because how do you quantify success? But have you produced a responsible citizen for this world? If between the two, if let us say the yardstick is if your child makes $1 million, he is successful, versus you are giving me a comparative index saying, I am a good parent which has produced a conscious citizen for this world. If I have contributed to the latter, I will be more happy even if my child has not made his $1 million or $1 million. Because I think we need to coexist, and that is the primary function of existence on a planet. If that basic trait is not there, what do the millions in your bank matter for? Nothing. You are anyway not going to take a dime away from here and go. And I have a philosophical view. Go back and look at the world. If you want to be remembered after you are gone, it is how you behave when you are there that determines how you will be remembered when you are not there. So that
absolutely, that's absolutely true. I agree. Sir, my next question, it's actually for both of you, but I would like to listen to your opinion first. Does the parent-teacher relationship impact the child?
Yes, certainly. Any conflict, any communication between the parent and the teacher has a disastrous effect on the thought architecture, growth profile of the learner. Just like at home when the husband and wife, they fight with each other, and then how the child is emotionally disconnected. Almost the same thing happens between a teacher and the parent. The moment a parent makes a comment about the teacher at home because of their personal likes and dislikes about the teacher, the respect for the teacher from the learner students comes out, right? The parents need to go to the school not to fight with the teacher, not to say that my child has learned less than the other child, but ask the question that my child has fallen short of some of these things. How can I help that my child to grow better? One of the major problems that we have today is parents tend to compare their children not only with the children in the neighborhood, but also with the children at home, right? All these things, then finally they come out to say, that boy has done well because his teacher was good, and you are not doing well because your teacher is not good. So I think that of late, I am sorry to make a statement, parents, many of them tend to go to a school with mental aggression, to fight with the school or fight with the teacher. They don't think that the schools and the teachers play a very significant role in shaping the future of your children. And therefore, I think better wisdom should prevail on this count, and they should say, they should rather think that they are stakeholders on a journey, right? The school management, the principal, the teachers, the students, parents, all are stakeholders, and you cannot be taking conflicting position with each other, right? And therefore, certainly parents have to be on a very acceptable note with the teachers.
I think what he says ties in with what you spoke in the previous discussion, that it ties in with the respect part. So how would you like to react to the same question?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is so true. It is a direct impact on the child on how the parents view the teacher. My principal definition of a teacher-student is a student is using a teacher as a source of learning. Where do you learn from? You learn from what you trust. Now, if your parents are going to provide you with inputs which are not healthy about your teacher, what is it creating? It is creating a trust deficit. Where there is a trust deficit, learning suffers. So, by speaking ill of your teacher in the presence of the child, you are only educating the child to not take the teacher seriously. True. So, your child is the one who is going to lose out in the process. It's like a tough coach in a sports environment. If the parent is sympathizing with the child because the child does not want to be pushed so much and says, oh my God, that coach is so demanding, I don't know, I want to look for a new coach. From that day, that child is looking at the coach saying, I am looking at replacing you. I am not looking at learning from you. True. So you got to look at a teacher as a coach who is trying to improve your child. And therefore, it's imperative parents learn this aspect. I think what Sir said, and I'll not take more than 30 seconds on that comment. Parents, unfortunately, don't look at themselves as part of this ecosystem to raise the child. Parents today come into schools with a customer mindset. That's right. I am paying you so much to educate my child, so as a customer, these are my customer requirements. You almost treat a teacher like as if you are giving feedback to a meal that you had in a restaurant.
Yeah, teacher has merely become a service provider.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely
So that's appalling when you have parents like this. Sometimes I tell the schools, if you want your school to improve, keep your parents away. It's unfortunate, but I have told schools this. You know, when you have unreasonable parents who don't understand anything, but come and create nuisance value for you, what can you do about it?
Correct. Well, a big thank you to both of you for joining us in today's discussion. Teachers, if you have many more questions that have been bothering you, troubling you, please write to me. I will ensure that we discuss those topics here and you have a solution for what's troubling you. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. We have many more interesting and enthralling topics coming up. So stay tuned and join us in the next episode of Bala and Bala. You take care.